What?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Heyo.
We're at it again. Up? And, I do?
Oh, my.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Do we do a mic check?
What? I thought I did.
I thought we did.
I checked this one. Hold on. Uh-oh. Audio. Should be
So our mic isn't
I'm so
running.
used to finding and troubleshooting cables.
Awesome.
This one is on not channel 1, it's on channel 5.
Ah, that explains it.
Oh fuck. That might have been my bad.
No.
Alright, leave it on channel 1.
Leave it. We're on channel 1 now.
Alright, check 1.
Hello.
Checking the chat. Let's see if they can hear you.
Hello.
Good.
Okay, we're all good. Oh my god. The host.
We're always gonna mess this up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Instead of Renegades Ramble, we just need to call this fuck up Central. So hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Renegades Ramble. In case you all haven't noticed, we haven't seen y'all since last year. That old joke.
So long.
Goodbye, 2018. Pour gasoline all over you.
Yep. Throw a match. It seems like that's what people say every year. It's just like, oh my god, 2016 was such a hassle. And people are just like, oh my god, 2017 was the worst year. Oh my god, 2018 was the worst year. I guarantee by 2019, people are just going to like go to the edge of the earth and just jump off. Or at least the flat earthers will try to.
They'll all go to Antarctica looking for that big ice wall.
They
freeze to death in the process.
It's impossible to make it over the ice wall.
It is impossible.
Let's be honest.
Unless you're Jon Snow,
yep.
In which you
Let's
still
be
know
honest,
nothing.
though. If flat earthers ended up all killing themselves that way,
ironic?
Not that much of a loss.
No,
we're okay with
it'd be ironic. We'd lose some basketball players and we'd lose some rappers.
That is just life, evolution, running its course. It's okay.
Or as Dr. Ian Malcolm would say, life finds
a way.
So, and in which I guarantee you, when Dr. Ian Malcolm hears about flat Earth, he's just like, it's like there are too many people on this planet. Some of them must die. Let's start with if you believe Earth is flat, who cares? I mean, I don't care if you believe Earth is flat. You can believe
You're an idiot.
Well, I know you care.
I'm sorry.
I know you care, but me, I don't care what people believe. I mean, just
I don't have a care per se what they believe.
Look,
but
you can believe
care on how they influence our next generations to come. Too.
Well, yeah, I mean that's.
Make no mistake, me, I'm pretty liberal. All right, you believe in whatever religion you want to believe. You have whatever however you identify, gender-wise, sexual interest. That's by all means, I'm all for that.
Same
you
here.
believe in a flat Earth? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
that's all there is.
I think most of the people I've talked to, of course, I'm friends with a lot of science people. They pretty much agree with you on that one.
Well,
I'm kind of more open to it, and I respect the fact that they have thought their own thoughts. That's one thing I do respect out of it.
Well, I do respect independent thought.
They have to make such a convoluted system to make that work.
Well, they do. Well, that's why I think a lot of them out there are taking the piss and they don't actually believe it. They're just
trolling
in on a joke.
Everybody.
Because unless you're Eddie Bravo, which I've seen Joe Rogan's podcast where he has Eddie Bravo on. Eddie Bravo's like, everything's fake, bro. Everything's fake. And then Joe Rogan's just like looks at Eddie. He's like, are you fake? And Eddie looks back at him. And he's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like it's like Eddie. You don't have to question everything. You don't literally have to question. Look. How we understand physics and how we understand how everything works, general relativity, quantum mechanics, everything that we know and we understand nowadays, it's not a complete and perfect system, but everything we know so far has pointed to the fact that a flat Earth is like by physics standards impossible because there is no disc-shaped floating there are no random floating disc-shaped objects out there in the solar system. Everything is like more spherical, and the reason for that is because of gravitation, because of how gravity works, because of how mass works.
Well, the explanation for that I can't fucking stand is it's just all CG now. It's all CG, especially as an editor.
Well, there's this one guy. There's this one guy. He shot himself not into space, but he shot himself like 1,000 feet off the ground to try and prove that the Earth was flat because he wanted to see he wanted to prove to everyone the Earth has no curvature. He goes up and I guarantee you he saw curvature, but he said, "Oh, it was too cloudy." Oh my God! And I'm just like, you're desperate. You are so desperate for people to believe you. It's like,
no, you can sit there and look at a live satellite looking at Earth.
Oh no, that's fake. That's fake. That's paid for by Big Globe and NASA, and it's just like, it's a Japanese private company that actually owns that. It's like, no, they're owned by NASA, bro. They're owned by NASA. You're blind, man. Yeah, wake up, sheeple.
Yeah, NASA doesn't do near as much as they used to.
Well, it's because we don't have Russians
the funding
to fucking
either,
scare us into doing shit.
Yeah, no. Instead,
SpaceX
we have Elon Musk just like you want to go to space? All right, go to space.
Take my car to space.
Exactly. Take my Tesla. We'll have fun.
No, actually, there's a website where you can follow the International Space Station, and you can see exactly when it's visible in your area. And we actually did that one time, and I went out my back porch, and I looked up, and I was expecting to see like a little bright light, like kind of like a star or something like that. No, this thing was massive, and you could actually see multiple lights on it. And
I've seen it.
The damn thing's the size of a football field.
And it doesn't just go zoom over, and that's it. I mean, you could see that thing like turning. It was blinking different colors, and it was like, whoa.
Well, it's massive, man. I mean,
it's not a
the ISS is just like it's a technical marvel.
Yeah,
and people are just so blind to it. Like those people out there are just so blind to it. It's just like oh, that's not real, man. It's projection. I'm like, I literally can't talk to you anymore. I can't say anything else.
That was one of the most disappointing things as far as just like having to retire the space shuttle and not having anything to replace it. So we're like, all right, I guess we'll just jump on some Russian rockets until somebody decides to fucking do something.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's, of course, the U.S. government is trying to talk to Elon Musk about, hey, can we use SpaceX to go into to bring stuff up there?
Which is fine. I mean, I like Elon Musk. I like space. Fucking the fact that Elon Musk created a rocket, or his company created a rocket that can land is, I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize just how fucking insanely.
Well, talking about Falcon 9.
What a game changer that is.
Well, because you're not throwing random space garbage out there.
Well, I mean, it would be like the equivalent of what if every time you wanted to fly somewhere, you build an airplane and you fly to your location, you can't use that airplane ever again. You have to go build another one to fly anywhere else. It would be such a fucking waste of materials.
The original understanding of how we had physics back then is like it's Newton's third law, is that you had to give something up in order to reach escape velocity, which is not necessarily true. You don't have to give up something, but you don't have to give up something when it comes to something whose gravity is as simple as Earth's. Whereas if you're talking about a black hole, which has a bunch of unknown variables, giving something up to reach escape velocity would be more understandable. However, when it comes to planet Earth, it's just like, no, you just have to reach escape velocity and you're good. Whereas if you cross the event horizon of a black hole, you're fucked. Yeah, I mean, you will never escape. Unless
you're Matthew McConaughey, and then you fall into like a giant library.
You just go back in time.
No, yeah. Well, actually, yeah, it was a Tesseract. Neil deGrasse Tyson was actually went with CinemaSins, and they did a CinemaSin breakdown of that scene, and he was just like, according to most quantum physicists out there, this is actually the most accurate representation of a Tesseract that we have. However, McConaughey's interaction with it is nowhere near as conventional as we think it is.
Yeah, now, like theoretically, the Tesseract thing makes sense, but in a physical living state, going through a black hole, ripped to shreds and particle by particle, there's no way you would. It's not.
Would your consciousness survive?
What would there be to physically put those particles back together?
Your body's dead
on the other side.
Well, yeah. What would put you back together? Could you be put back together? I mean, it's a lot like CGP Grey actually did an awesome video about teleporters in the Star Trek universe. It's like, is the Star Trek teleporter really a miracle of travel, or is it secretly a death box that just doesn't tell anybody about it? Because what it's shown is that according to physics, what we know, how we see it now, is that matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change forms. Now, that works if, the original way they had it, but in certain Star Trek continuums, people have been combined. People they've spawned two people from a transporter malfunctioning, and it's just like, wait a second. So it creates another being. It's just like, what if you go into a teleporter box and then all of a sudden everything goes black?
Yeah.
And then
like when Brian Greene was talking about quantum entanglement, as far as like splitting those particles together, that'd be very interesting if you had your A particle and B particle split aside, and you're too similar. It's just a mirrored version of yourself on the other side of like a black hole or something. It's always
weird.
These crazy theories that just, it almost takes the people too far out there that don't have a physics understanding of it, kind of like an Interstellar, when some people's like, yeah, bullshit, and then you got the theoretical side that's like, whoa, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, well,
you got to watch it with an open mind and just kind of come from a point of understanding of it.
They brought in physicists.
Oh, yeah.
They brought in people who knew what they were talking about. Some of the best minds at like Oxford and Cambridge.
Christopher Nolan doesn't fuck around.
No, he doesn't.
No.
He's a great director, and he also understands that if you're out of your depth, you need people there to
advise you.
Yeah, to advise and to direct you in the right
comment here. So
direction.
Mike Root says, honestly, imagine Neil Armstrong punching every flat earther.
Well, there's that one guy. Buzz Aldrin actually punched one guy that denied that he went to the moon, because this guy was just like, it's a conspiracy that they went to the moon. The moon landing was filmed. And Buzz Aldrin, who I think was like 85 at the time, just hauled off and decked this guy in the face and knocked him back.
They lost friends and loved ones in the astronaut program in those days to make those sacrifices to do the accomplishments that they did.
Well, yeah, you look at
Apollo 9?
11.
Apollo 11 is the
California.
one that went to the moon.
Whereas,
Whereas
they all came back with pretty much pneumnia.
I'm talking about the one where they were on the launch pad and the fucking pod.
I think it was Apollo. I think that was Apollo 1.
There's
Apollo 1.
I don't want to say the wrong ones because it's kind of.
Well, everyone always remembers
know
Challenger
Apollos,
because
I'm sorry.
Challenger was in the
on
air.
its way back.
And no, it was on its way. It was on its way into the atmosphere. Discovery was the one that was on its return trip, and then something terrible happened.
Yeah.
When Discovery went down, that was sort of a lot of people. That's one image that people will never forget, is seeing the ship coming in through the atmosphere and it breaking up.
Yeah, just
whereas
destroyed.
Whereas Challenger, it went bad on takeoff, and it's because of bad safety precautions. There was these pieces of foam that whenever you superheated the type of foam they were using, it actually became very solid. And what it did, if it was going at that speed and it was very solid, it actually pierced the alloy that was protecting
I actually just watched a little documentary on that.
It's so
like you
funny
can see it. You
the
can actually
alloy is
see
very
it. Very
fragile. Actually, it's not made to withstand
blunt force trauma.
anything. It's
Well,
made
I mean,
it's made
that's
to withstand temperature change.
and heat.
That's
Yeah,
the thing about
Yeah.
ceramics. They're really good at heat resistance, but they're brittle as shit.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what happened. Actually, they showed a close up of both the Challenger and the Discovery, and both things happened. However, Discovery made it out of the atmosphere, but on its way back, that's when shit went wrong.
Yeah.
It was the Columbia, not Discovery.
Or Columbia, not Discovery. Sorry. Huh.
Yeah, didn't know we were talking about space technology today,
Yeah.
did we?
Yeah,
No-
well, hey, it's
no
2019.
video games.
We're in the
So-
future.
So, what
Woo!
video game do you think, in your personal endeavors, is most scientifically accurate as far as space and sci-fi?
I don't know.
I mean, Mass Effect is pretty good as far as if you look past the one big lie there of Element Zero, because they use that essentially to define everything.
Well, that's the MacGuffin. It's the MacGuffin,
yeah.
effectively.
But other than that, I mean, they're pretty good about it as far as, at least if you look into the codex and stuff of how they explain things, as far as vehicles moving around.
You
They'll
read
go
right into
halfway.
that.
and then-
Probably my favorite quote from that entire freaking game is when these two space marines are
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
and they're
I
just
saw
like,
that.
it's like, you understand the laws of physics? Yes, sir. What does that mean? Sir Isaac Newton is the most dangerous bastard in this.
Yeah, and it's like,
Oh, space. It's like,
yeah,
yes.
you shoot it to a 38 kiloton impact or whatever for the mass drivers, and if you miss, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it could be in 10,000 years, but you're going to be ruining somebody's day, somebody somewhere.
Yeah. You see, and the mass relays, Element Zero, EZO, and mass relays, they're the MacGuffins that make that universe, be able to do what they do,
Yeah.
and which it goes back to discoveries, innovations, and all that. Like we talked about on a previous podcast, the steam ball toy that they found in ancient Greece. That if they would have just tweaked it a little bit and looked to see what was possible with this technology, where would we be now?
Oh, yeah, they're
Advanced by 2,000 years, and probably a post-singularity society where we actually have space travel and all that. And actually, people say, "Oh, we'd be able to explore the known universe." No, we'd probably be able to explore a galactic cluster, and that's it.
Don't go crazy.
Because they showed that in terms of how it works, the spaces between, like dark space, like true deep space, past our galactic cluster, where there is no light affecting it. Even if you go as fast as possible, you would never reach another galactic cluster. You would never reach
when
it.
Something's like 250,000 light years. I mean, nothing's gonna survive 250,000 years.
Well, it's more about the fact that the galaxy is gradually expanding, and it's expanding faster than light, which is incredible because space itself isn't bound by the laws of physics. So it's expanding fast.
I don't think it's not found by the laws of physics. We just haven't discovered all of the laws of physics.
Yeah.
That's
but it's theorized that like the universe is closer to something like 80 or 90 billion light years across, even though it's only been around for 14 billion. So,
yeah. Well, that's as far as we can look back is 14.8 so far. That's as far as we've looked back. They can't say you can't say for a fact that it's only 14.8. It could be like you said.
But that's because at that point all we see is just background radiation for the Big Bang.
And of course that goes to the omniverse theory where we're just one little tiny universe in a bubble amongst.
Well, that's actually one theory that actually I've played on, like the multiverse theories. I actually wrote a story that actually deals with something. It's called a REL drive. A REL drive is it's a lot like the infinite improbability drive from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, except it's more controlled. Instead of you hitting it and then infinite improbability takes you to a certain place, instead it just tears a hole in the fabric of time and space, and it pretty much how Neil deGrasse Tyson explained it. It bends space and time to where it pretty much punches a hole through it, and you're where you want to be.
Yeah, that's a wormhole.
Yeah, well, and it's not like one that they show in movies where it's just like a tunnel. Instead, it's just like instantaneous.
Yeah.
And I played with the idea that in the alternate universes, it's actually humanity. It's actually humanity exists in that one too. It's a different timeline. It's a different timeline that they've gone a completely different route from us. And actually, they sent this branch of humanity actually invented a rail drive, and they did it as a test, and it got sent to our universe. And then our people found it, and they understood the technology because they could understand they could semi-understand the language, and they pieced it together, and they figured out, hey, this is technology we can use, and turns out we base our technology off of that, and for the next, I think it's 200-300 years, the advances that we make, like we're able to hop across galaxies and no problem whatsoever, and then eventually we figure out, hey, we can actually tear a hole in space and time and actually potentially go to another galactic quadrant. And then it's like, hey, instead of galactic quadrant, how about we actually see if there's another universe out there outside of ours? And then
so the only concern that I'd have about that is, I'm all for the multiverse theory, but I'd be concerned of actually going to another universe, because there's nothing that necessarily said. Every universe could have its own set of laws
and physics.
And so you could get there and immediately be crushed into a singularity. Or
that's one thing that I've considered that too, and I've looked into it, and they say that theory could play out. But at the same time, you could actually see the potential differences, and you could actually do tests. You could like do a probe into that universe, and because we're able to tell how planets are by just by what's the scope that they use to tell if
spectrometer and
Spectrometer.
spectrometer.
No,
Spectrometer.
There's the bigger version of it, the instrument. It's like a word this long, and I can never say it.
Spectrometer.
Yeah, I can't even say it.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I'm gonna butcher the word on that one.
It's fine, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
we have ways to tell. I mean, who's to say that we couldn't come up with a way to tell how a different universe would behave? Like, if we're able to see if it's if everything there has the same laws of physics as us, or close enough for us to still be able to survive in that universe.
Kind of like how they did with Stargate, where they like send the probe through the wormhole.
Yeah, and they see
with the universe instead of.
It's just like, how's the compatibility? Compatibility is 92%. That is within the realm of error.
God,
so
we're Stargate.
I love Stargate too. That's actually one of the ways I actually got the idea was Stargate, but instead of it being like a Stargate, like stuck in one place, but instead a miracle of physics that's actually able to be put on a ship, sort of like Halo, where they have the jump drives that they have on that, and I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to bring that into prominence, because I've had that idea for years and years, and actually one of the biggest influences is Outlaw Star, because during one of the acts in it, one of the main characters actually steals. Actually, no, he doesn't steal. Like, he reclaims it from this because it's been lost out there for God knows how long, and no one really has a claim to it anymore because of maritime law, because of how maritime law works, and he reclaims it, and him and his crew don't know what the hell they have at their disposal, and it sort of falls into like the Melfina, or one girl from Firefly, I forget her friggin' name. She's played by Summer Glau.
Oh yeah, I love Summer Glau. River Time.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. So sort of the same thing with that, and she's imbued with all this knowledge, and she doesn't know how the hell she got here. She knows everything there is to know about the rail drive and how it works and everything, and she knows her name, and that's basically it. And everything else is just like lost in like. And it turns out she's actually a being from that other universe, and it's just like, oh shit. And turns out she stole that ship, and she stole that ship with the rail drive on it to like pretty much try and get away from everything that was going on there. And the story developed from there, and I really want to go back to it and see what I can make from it. I mean,
see, that's the coolest thing. Even though we already recognize that there's no way to pass light speed and stuff, we have all these cool different theories for like ways to get around it with FTL.
I will build the Ishimura.
I really do hope
Ishimura.
that something like the Alcubierre drive is actually possible, where it basically compresses space in front of the ship and expands it behind, so it allows you to more or less warp space. I don't like using the term warp drive because it reminds me of Star Trek, and I can't stand Star Trek. But
warp drive. I think it's lost favor. It's lost favor in a lot of people's minds, because everyone's just like, we're going up to warp 5. Yeah. Why can't we go warp 10? That's not possible, sir. It's like, yeah, it is. Just crank the knob up.
It's only possible.
Go to 11.
It's only possible when the plot requires it, and then it works perfectly fine, and there's no problem. As long as everybody gets out alive, except for the red shirts. Then
I more favor the wormhole theory than I do the warp drive theory, for sure.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense within the laws of physics too. I mean,
now that said, I do like how Mass Effect's interpretation of it, where it basically decreases the ship's mass to like nothing, which I don't understand how that fucking works at all. But
Element Zero,
basically they use that where it's kind of their way of allowing faster than light travel, and I kind of use that to some degree. In my universe, kind of with the warp drive, sort of in a certain way, not like how they do it in Star Trek, but I use that for like short range FTL, and then like kind of like more like Halo slip space for long range stuff.
So here's a pretty big physics question. So an object in motion, the faster it goes, the more it weighs. All right.
Yeah.
How does that work in space?
In space,
So-
where there's no gravitational pull on it, the only thing that affects mass is the mass of the item itself, in which they say that solar winds and also there's also relativity events. Actually, they were able to detect a starquake at a university. They actually have a spectrometer that actually has a laser that actually reverberates every time something truly like huge
Massive.
happens, and they detected a starquake in which they showed what actually happened. It was two singularities spinning around each other, and then eventually they combined, and it like made a huge starquake.
Gravity wave.
Gravity wave that just made it here. And they were lit. And the guy who was on this on the thing
the
listening,
fabric of space and time, if the physics are true, it moves in waves.
Yes.
So there's ripples within the fabric of space and time itself. When is that ripple gonna hit you? I mean, and that's one of those weird questions. It's like it's kind of above my head.
The thing is, I mean, it's difficult to interpret how
feel
everything
it?
works.
You know, would
we?
our planet? Man, I wish Neil deGrasse Tyson was here.
hey Neil, you want to be on our podcast? Bring it on. Come on.
Shit.
Speaking of
dude,
that, she's actually been reading Neil deGrasse
love
Tyson's
Neil
book,
Nice.
Astrophysics for People in a Hurry.
The problem with that is gravity
It's really cool.
basically fundamentally works the same way that light does, in that it essentially falls off with inverse square law. So the further away you are from the object, the less gravity you're going to feel. So even with a gravity pulse, you're not going to feel anything.
Yeah.
That said, as far as what the gravity waves are doing, we have theories that our universe is actually 11-dimensionally based. We can only perceive 3 dimensions plus 1 time dimension, 3 spatial dimensions. But there's theories out there like string theory and M theory that they're up to 7 other spatial dimensions.
Yeah,
And I
since
don't
we got
even
on
know-
the quantum physics
Yeah.
thing, that's when they're talking about because what they're seeing, everything that they're seeing in quantum physics completely defies physical physics.
Yeah.
Like it's I mean, they don't understand how a lot of this works.
Yeah, and-
electrons are some of the most mysterious things ever, and especially like quantum entanglement. That stuff is insane. Like, how does that even work?
Well,
It's like-
you see, they call it a monkey's paw of of scientific discovery. You answer one question,
Can you have
and then there's
You
a
know,
billion
look
more
this
out
up.
there
Yeah.
that the door opens for.
And that's kind of what gives me hope for like having the ability of FTL. It would suck if there was no such thing, no way to have faster light travel, because it would mean that humanity would never really be able to expand further out than the solar system. Or by the time humans could be sent off to other planets, we'd never have any kind of form of unification, because nobody would ever be able to communicate with each other effectively. So you'd basically just be sending humans off to start their own civilization and never see them again, more or less.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if humanity does do that, it will it will grow the same with the lessons that we've learned on this planet. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
yeah. That fingers crossed.
I mean,
if that does happen.
we're in pretty much the most peaceful and prosperous point in human existence.
We
right
are
now.
We are.
So,
I mean,
I do
especially
have-
post World War.
I am very
post-
optimistic for the future.
Well, especially when you look at the history of like disease and war,
yeah. Oh,
like
God.
disease alone. I mean, when the Black Plague hit, by the time it reached the the UK, it had killed over, I think, like 50 million people, and by the time the 1350s were over, it had killed almost
It had,
100
a
million
third
people.
of Europe or something.
Yeah, it killed a third of Europe. I mean, they actually do a population chart to show population growth throughout the years, and then 1345 through 1350, it planed off and went down a little bit, and then it started to go up again as soon as humans adapted.
Yeah.
As soon as humans adapted to
start getting stuff under control.
Yeah.
Really, the time we started boiling water, or I guess
sanitation.
beer, actually.
Yes.
Since they didn't realize that boiling the water was making it clean, you boiled it to make beer, and it was all of a sudden clean. And plus, the alcohol got rid of a lot of different viruses and diseases too.
Mm-hmm.
That just little thing alone right there spiked human survival for
Well,
a lot.
and then also there was also another thing that CGP Grade pointed out, that the introduction of caffeinated beverages such as coffee. When coffee became available to Europe in, I think it was like it was around. It actually was at the beginning of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment, he said, is actually. That's a theory that the Enlightenment, where so many great philosophers leapt forward, and so many great, like Sir Isaac Newton and like the physicists of old started to move forward, was when coffee was introduced to Europe, and I can see that because caffeine is a hell of a thing.
Yeah, that's where most of the scientists hung out at.
Caffeine's one hell of a drug.
Coffee shops.
Yeah, caffeine's one hell of a drug, man.
But I mean, it's.
In the morning, it's kind of.
I mean, you compare it to compared to what people knew back in the Black Plague, which was very much religious based as far as believe in God and stuff, and you'll be saved
and you'll be fine.
Compared to what we know now, light years ahead intellectually. That's why, like, I was watching a video on like talking about like why for The Walking Dead. Why didn't the U.S. military, why weren't they able to succeed? In the real world, I'm pretty sure a zombie apocalypse would fail very quickly because I think we would be able to identify.
They would be able to climb over the gates, to be honest.
No, they wouldn't be able to climb. And if you're looking at it super realistically, everybody that becomes a zombie is dead flat on the ground in 24 hours because their body that's how quickly the body stops being able to function. Period.
Yeah.
Within a week, their brains are rotting away. There's no way for them to actually
If you're
function.
trying to take zombies down to
you won't even have to shoot them or stab them in the head. You don't have to destroy the brain or remove the head, as they say.
Which is why for me, I don't zombies. I dig a lot. I'm a big fan of George Romero and all that he did for popularizing zombies in the modern era and everything. Mm-hmm. But me, I'm more a fan of Danny Boyle and what he did with 28 Days Later.
Yeah, exactly. Because those aren't zombies. Those are people that are like you shoot them in the heart and they die. It's like they're suffering from like mad cow disease or something.
Well,
rabies.
In that movie it was rage, whereas the one that I came up with, it's actually something that attacks according to like. It attacks the human species on a bell curve. You're going to have humans that are like, when they're infected by it, they become terribly like sick and all that. And then when you get up here, you get normal, where they're actually able to like run around and like be a terror to the world.
Yeah.
And then you get into the upper echelon ones that are like alphas, that are like scary when you see what they're capable of. They're able to
like World War Z, like at least the movie. I don't know so much about the book, but like the movie where they're able to like pile on top of each other and like fucking climb walls and like turn into like a big flood of bodies. I don't know how that fucking worked.
Well, that's the swarm. That's the swarm.
Awful.
The swarm theory that they say that it's actually a lot. It behaves a lot like a virus that overwhelms the system.
Yeah.
Because when white blood cells fight back, it's the white blood cells that get overwhelmed and are not able to fight back an infection of that level. And a visualization like that, to me, is kind of stupid. I mean,
if the whole objective of the virus is to like spread the plague, I imagine like a torrent of bodies flowing over and like crushing the possible people they can infect.
Yeah, the sea of humanity.
Yeah, it doesn't really help the virus that much.
Not really. No, it's actually a detriment.
I didn't really thought about that one.
Well, the T virus. That's an interesting one because the excuse they use for it.
How far they want to take the T virus?
Well, the original explanation for the T virus was that the human body still creates protein. It still creates naturally reoccurring proteins after death, in which it does, because in certain cases your fingernails continue to grow a little bit and your hair continues to grow a little bit, and then
for a smaller. Actually, they said your hair and nails don't actually grow; they actually stop. Typically about 48 hours after death.
Oh, really?
But it's your skin, your face, and everything like that. The fatty acids, they start to shrink, which gives the appearance of your hair growing longer.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually I actually learned that one from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
So, yep.
But yeah, I just think for zombies, I mean, I think we'd be we freaked out like a few years back when it was all about the fucking Zika virus.
Yeah.
Where, oh my God, the Zika virus is here.
Yeah.
We gotta do something, or Ebola or something.
Or
Are
SARS.
pretty fucking
We're
quick.
good at contaminating diseases.
Well,
We
we're pretty
we're
quick
good
at identifying,
containing,
freaking the fuck out, and like locking
we've
shit
had,
down
what,
and quarantining.
a lot of history containing diseases and viruses as just human
Zombies,
culture, you know.
Well,
They'll
the last great plague that affected humanity was the Spanish flu, which was after World War One, which killed, I think, between 25 to 30 million people.
Yeah.
And that's worldwide. I mean, it hit the U.S. really bad, but the U.S. actually had like good preparation for it and all that, but still, it killed a lot.
There's
of people.
there's a YouTube channel I watch called Extra History, and they actually just did a whole thing on that, like a 6-episode thing on the Spanish flu. It's actually pretty cool.
I
everybody
actually
should check
watched
out
their
Extra
one
History.
that they did about the Bismarck, the sinking of the Bismarck.
I've watched all of their.
Yeah.
So they kind of changed the voice. I guess they have a different voice actor on it. I kind of like him as much as the higher pitch guy. He was
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, I've watched through all of Extra History, and it's fucking amazing. It's awesome.
You see, Bill Nye Saves the World on the mosquito hunters.
I haven't.
That was awesome.
We kill off mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, they designed these giant gates they're basically essentially like a big laser field, and it'll detect which ones are male, which one's female, and it targets the females and eradicates them instantly. And but the males survive, and everybody's like, "Well, aren't you? Isn't that like you're talking about eradicating a species? Won't PETA will have a problem with that?" Like, look, no one is coming to the rescue for mosquitoes.
No.
I'm pretty sure we're
no
good.
one's coming to the rescue.
And they actually showed that even without mosquitoes in the ecosystem, they don't affect anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough.
It's not like
other
honeybees.
insects, like moths and butterflies and things like that could like feed spiders or something. That
Yeah.
They're
bats.
saying within 10, 15 years, malaria is going to be non-existent,
Which is good.
which is really good,
Especially in Africa, dude, because
we've basically starved
malaria
their
kills so many
ecosystem.
people in Africa.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and it's I mean that's where a lot of diseases like Ebola and stuff they'll originate from there, and that it fucking sucks because their
comes
technology, their ability to recognize these diseases right off the bat, it's just not there.
There's one thing. There's actually a documentary that the BBC did that there was this guy from Hong Kong went down to Africa to try and fix this water problem that they were having, and turns out he went to this country and they were so backwards when it came to doing some things. They blatantly destroyed. He even talked back to like in the 1930s when the Europeans left the country. They left behind railways. They left behind everything. All this technology stuff. And the guy from Hong Kong was just like in China. That's what the British did. They left behind their railways. They left behind all this, and we absorbed that technology and we made it part of ourselves.
Yep.
Whereas in Africa, they actually showed that they destroyed a lot of it. They destroyed a lot of the infrastructure. It's just like you set yourselves back 50 years easily by destroying all this and pulling up the rails and using them to make buildings and stuff like that. It's like, no, you have this awesome infrastructure here. You have paved roads. Use them. But instead, no, they didn't want to be around it because it's a lack of wanting to change. It's just like, look, you want to live in ignorance and bliss and all that. Don't come complaining whenever the rest of the world is free of disease, but yet y'all are still suffering from malaria. And here's one thing though.
Science can save the world.
Science can save the world. And one thing I have seen with like people who suffer from sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia came along to fight malaria. That's a naturally recurring disorder that is predominantly in Africans because in Africa, they haven't had a cure for malaria, and the body got sick of fighting it and decided, hey, we're just going to have this naturally occurring disorder that fights back against it. But whenever the body isn't exposed to malaria for a certain amount of time, it actually starts to hurt the person, which is bad because I've seen people who suffer from sickle cell anemia, and it's just...
And that's one of those parts in evolution where it can turn either way. It can either make your population extinct to that particular area, or you can thrive and get past it.
Adaptability... So, when it comes to human adaptability, humans are probably one of the most adaptive creatures in, like, in all species out there.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's-
our ability to adapt. Like you look at our environmental adaptation. You look at
Yeah.
people who are close enough to the equator. Their skin naturally turns darker and absorbs melanin, or has naturally more occurring melanin, so it's actually able to absorb sunlight a lot better.
Yeah.
And then when you go north, where the sun, or north or south, either way, the paler people get, because that's just
and it's I mean,
ahead.
and after that, it's passed down genetically after that
Yep.
too. You know.
well, yeah. and
that's
it's-
why I find a lot of like post-apocalyptic. I mean, but partly that's kind of the reason I don't like post-apocalyptic movies. Sorry, I got a lot of red in me now. Post-apocalyptic movies, just because the human species is pretty adaptable. So anything like a nuclear war, even a biological attack, that like a super virus, kind of like say like was it Last of Us kind of style. I don't see that being able to wipe us out.
well,
easily
it doesn't
at all.
wipe us
You-
out,
you-
but it
you would
decimates us
have-
to the point of desperation.
But yeah, I mean, you would have to have a lot of accumulated place, like famine, a bio attack, a nuclear war, and other ethnic type issues. All of that packed onto each other to put us to a point where there's so few of us left, and we're so spread out that we can't reproduce back into a larger population. That would make us go extinct. So something like, say, like, I don't know exactly how Mad Max came about, like as far as how the
nuclear
environment-
war.
Nuclear war.
It was strictly nuclear war.
But did it happen in like the fucking? Is the whole story plot going on in the Arizona desert or some shit?
No, it takes place in Australia, in pretty much Australia,
Okay.
and that's where the last remnants
that
of
makes
humanity
sense
are.
because Australia is 90% desert. So
Yeah,
that's,
it is.
That's understandable. But like the idea of like forests and stuff, everything being wiped out. Like I've never played Fallout, but I've seen some of the commercials where they just show all the vegetation like dead and everything in Fallout.
Some of it has, but some of it has evolved.
Yeah.
Like potatoes. Like potatoes, they're and then there's of course like the different strains of like corn and other vegetation that have adapted, and people farm it and people use it. And then of course there's the Brahmin, which are two-headed cows. Quite literally two-headed cows, and they're awesome, by the way. Like one head looks one way, one head looks the other,
Right.
and then you
Then you check
all of
out
a sudden
the
you're
predators.
in front of it, and you're just like, "Hey, Brahmin, how you doing?" And then both heads look at you. One cocks its head sideways, and the other one leans its head down.
But-
It's like, holy crap, that's awesome.
But
Love
see, like
Brahmin.
our actual understanding of how a lot of radioactive material in Fallout would work. I mean, a lot of that stuff would be gone easily within a century. I
Well-
mean, you might have
Yeah.
smaller, lighter effects, but a lot of that Fallout does not have nearly the devastating effect that a lot of sci-fi, post-apocalyptic type movies show.
But the problem is, it's just, how do you make something to
Yeah,
where
I mean, I get
the rule of cool falls back to that.
and that's totally understandable. I get it. It's just
No, I know. Well, I know the skeptical brain. That's how we are nowadays. Nowadays, humanity is more skeptical than ever when it comes to a lot of
and
things.
to be fair, even in like the book that I'm writing here, like the one of the alien species that I have involved with it, kind of they suffer that type of deal. And I actually had to add in that accumulative effect where they were suffering from like famine and resource, like they're having resource wars and stuff. But all of those cumulative effects to explain why they initially kind of went extinct. And as long as you have that accumulative effect, then it makes I can kind of believe more. But just one thing, like just a nuclear war.
Well, the less less logical leaps you have, the more believable and the more like effective the story can be, I feel. And I believe that. I that's just like me. The logical leaps that I've taken with the stories that I've written are as minimal as possible, and the rest of it is just like as real characters as I can imagine them being in that situation. And I don't pretend like these people exist. Like there's inspirations, there's characters that I based off of inspirations of people that I've known, or people that or even parts of myself. There's actually a character that I wrote that was based on myself, but actually had a more like anti-personal, like sort of sociopath tendencies, and I kind of scared myself with the stuff that I came up with for him. And I'm just like, oh God, what, like, how would I be if I were more of a sociopath instead of like a, Because most of my life I've been an introvert, but here recently I've become like a extrovert where I just love interacting with people nowadays more and more, and I'm good at talking to people. Like I'm really good at talking to people. It's just like for the longest time I was just like in my room, just like minding my own business, like not doing anything, and it's strange how that works. You know how personalities can affect a lot of things. So for you, I know some people out there find me annoying. I know some people watching this probably find me annoying. I know my parents find me annoying sometimes. My sister does too, although I think my sister is like grown to actually love me because of how much I help take care of her and her. Oh well, I used to back before I moved. Help take care of her and her boys.
Union says, basically, if I found a gateway to the 40K universe, I'd close it off immediately.
Yeah, follow up on that. I'm going to fuck up your name. I'm sorry. Maril Solomar?
Mario?
Marille. Sorry.
Marilla. Okay.
Just had a thought. What if perpetuals from Warhammer 40K lore existed? Basically, a very rare subspecies of humans that stop aging after their prime. Regeneration from decapitation. Depends on when this would be occurring. If you're talking about like fucking Dark Ages, European style, they'd be burned at the stake because religion.
No, is the 40K lore, that's futuristic, right?
Yeah,
it's like
nowadays. You know what would happen to them nowadays? The government would seize them and would experiment on them to see if this could be passed on or could be weaponized.
Basically, again, I haven't played 40K, but from what as I've interpreted it, basically is like if Rome had survived to become a futuristic civilization.
Okay,
because like everything
there's
is Roman.
different timelines for Warhammer. There's like the prehistoric timeline in like the medieval ages, not prehistoric, but medieval ages, and then there's the futuristic. But they kind of like go off of each other, and it's like, well, that's a big span. I can't keep up with it. It's too much to keep up with.
I don't know anything about the background lore. I just know that like it basically the way it's been depicted is kind of basically like if the Roman Empire.
So as far as video games, I think one of the most impressive sci-fi like realistic ships I'd ever seen, minus the aliens, was Dead Space.
The Ishimura,
the crew quarters, the subway system, the restaurants, their break rooms where they work at. They got a lot of interesting layouts for the Ishimura, very detailed. Minus the aliens
massive
part. Yeah.
Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that because the entire plot occurs on the ship. I mean, you have to create more of the environment of the ship. I imagine a lot of sci-fi ships are, they have it laid out like that. I think if we're talking about video games, then I think Halo and Mass Effect are good. But I could see that as far as Dead Space is.
For example, Halo, where it's in a ring, is it spinning to replicate gravity?
In Halo?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it spends something like I can't remember the exact number, but it's like 9 hours or it spends every 9 hours.
Yeah.
To generate 1G.
Yeah.
Which again, I always find that funny that like the like any kind of advanced civilization, whether it's the Forerunners or the Protheans in Mass Effect or like in Stargate or whatever, everybody works off of human functions. So everything is 1G, everything functions in a 24-hour period, but that's not how it would really go.
Well, I can understand like the gravitation, like having gravitational pull to some degree, unless that species is completely doesn't have a bone structure.
Yeah, and to be fair, the Forerunners were a bipedal species that were fairly humanoid, so I could maybe see it, but
the time frame thing
still be. You could say like at least 1.4G or 1.04G or something.
I would have at least had it similar enough, but have a little bit of a variant on it to where the Spartans who have the armor are more attuned to walk around and be in that environment. Say 1.5G, and they were the only ones who were capable of fighting against the Forerunners.
And that's something I address in my book a lot of is these guys, like the soldiers and stuff in the story, they're going to be going around to all kinds of different planets with all kinds of different gravities and environments and stuff. And, a lot of like, especially the higher gravity ones, you're going to have to wear some kind of exoskeleton just to survive being on that planet.
Mech Warrior Online is actually pretty cool because each level that you go through, it tells you the temperature, tells you the gravitation, the weather, the atmosphere, the gases in the atmosphere.
And does it play into the?
Yes, it actually does.
Awesome.
So like your weapons will overheat faster on certain maps.
Yeah.
You move slower or faster on certain maps. Your jump jets don't work on certain maps because the gravity is just too much.
That's fucking.
It's really cool. Although I mean, it's kind of like you and I were talking tanks versus mechs. Tanks are a lot more practical because they got wheels. They're
low profile.
Gas. They're not top heavy. They're very low profile. But then the mechs, though, like think of other planets like an all-terrain mech engine, and that, like you said, the rule of cool. You know,
like here's the thing, like a Mantis from Halo, that type of mech where it's it's not very high, maybe a few meters tall. That kind of thing makes sense. Something from like Avatar, Legend of Korra, where it's like the 500 fucking foot tall mech thing. Anything like that doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
No,
it doesn't.
Well,
work.
for me, Gundams, I think in terms of physically like that, are pushing it a little bit. However,
the walking mechanics and they're just super tall.
Yeah,
and they fight with fists and swords. That kind of doesn't make sense for a weaponized machine. Whereas like Mech Warrior goes off of a rotary system on the hips, and its legs, they don't just have like feet. Although some of the mechs do from BattleTech, the early versions, they were kind of like Gundams, but the new ones were more kind of just like assault pedals, It's pretty cool, and they got hydraulics to each and every toe that actually can sense and pressure resistance on each land, so it can actually step up on rocks and climb and sideways.
Okay.
They get real sciencey with that stuff on Mech Warrior, but I've been following Mech Warrior since I think was it Mech Warrior 2 for PlayStation. I think that was the very first one I played, and then I went and started playing some of the PC ones with like Mech Commander, the strategy ones, and then Mech Warrior obviously when it came out, and that was a big deal because it was the first like simulation.
Yeah, where there's a lot of
game.
And that's cool, and I hope games do kind of tailor more to that. They don't have to be. I don't want them necessarily to be, one-to-one reality, because obviously there's a reason why they're as fantastical as they are. It's for the fun factor. If you make everything realistic, then nobody's going to be able to carry around like it's not like Doom where you can carry around 17 weapons on you. It's not going to happen.
It's the new Doom 2016. I mean, it's fun. I mean, that's one reason why I like that game so much. It's just so much fun.
Yep.
I mean,
it's very fun, not as scary in my opinion.
No.
I think
it's
Doom
definitely
3 was
very
a
much
lot
Doom
scarier.
3, they were going for the horror on that.
And I actually liked that a lot because I still thought Doom 3 was a lot. I just did not like the backtracking. You had to backtrack so much, and you get confused because that's a big ship.
I mean, I would have kept going to new areas instead of having to backtrack so much. Like I'd do a backtrack, but I would at least change up the level enough. Like hell is starting to mesh together with the human world, and the things have changed.
The further you get to hell, the more psychological you start passing between, kind of like the realms.
Yeah,
like your actual spirits mixed with your physical realm and illusions, and it'd be really cool.
I think it'd be awesome.
I think the new Doom, I felt like Master Chief went to hell.
And
that's kind of how I felt. Which which is fun though. I mean, it's really fun.
Which actually the Doom Slayer, he actually is one of the primary bases for Master Chief. The green helmet, the green armor, and all that, and it's just like, how do you?
If you look at the Halo universe, you're deployed with Marines. United Space as a
United Nations Space.
I can never say
Space Command, Marines.
Yes,
Marine Corps. Well, it's the United Nations Space Command.
And if it kind of goes back to in Doom, he was a Marine too. I mean, they go back to the OD green because that's always been the I guess the colors of military since World War One.
Even though it doesn't affect you much in like this gigantic really red hellscape.
Yeah.
I feel like Lavina needs to talk more.
Yes.
What?
She's getting all neglected.
Well, it didn't help. We dropped it on.
So we're all kind of tired. We worked about a good 12 hours just moving shit all around.
That's actually something that we can talk about. It's like here at the studio, it's 2019 again. Woo! But stuff that y'all are doing here in the studio. I mean, there's a whole bunch
Big
of
changes. Big
yeah.
changes.
Yeah,
So-
gradually moving over a bunch of different rooms, trying to get everything set up finally to like a. This is how the studio is going to be.
Yep.
We're finalizing a lot of our last minute changes and stuff, and we just got our one of our buddies. He brought in a big old soundboard.
32
That's
a
fucking
32 input one.
Yeah,
32
It's like
input,
professional
64
fucking-
out.
It's
got
awesome.
16 sins, which is ridiculous.
I think they're working on it now, right?
Yeah, they're
basically
still in
hooking
there
everything
installing it
up.
right
Yeah.
now. So, lots of new technology coming into the studio. We should be able to bring in full-on professional audio to
Nice.
every
Yeah.
type of project.
If there are any
Video,
bands out
audio,
there, hit us
voiceover,
up.
music production.
That's actually one thing I was
Sound
talking to them
engineering.
about in there is like doing voiceovers. And you told us that you'd been contacted by a certain company. You don't have to name
Yeah,
who
I
it
won't
is.
say that publicly.
But yeah, you were contacted by a company, and they were just like, "Hey, we heard about your old studio. Would you be interested in this?" And there were some things that you didn't have, but you're getting closer and closer
Yeah.
to having them. So
And that's the thing. I'd rather us, be able to like, tell them, yeah, sorry, we don't have it, but we will have it soon. Well, when we have it ready,
Yep.
rather than not having it fucking up and getting blacklisted in the future. That's
Exactly.
the way to go
Yeah.
about it.
because
Yeah, I don't think they work like that, where they're just going to check you off. Nope, we'll never talk to them again. I
no,
don't think
instead
that's how
they
it
look
works.
at you as
I know.
potential. They look at
Yeah.
you as a potential.
I think that first impression is always vital. No matter what, you can always make up for mistakes in the beginning,
Mhm.
but a lot of times, whoever you're working with, if you fuck up the first time, a lot of people are going to have preconceived notions of how things are going to go.
Yeah.
You can never
We've
redo a bad first
we've dealt with
impression.
people like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why,
it's-
I was very honest with them. I'll just say it was a branch of Hollywood. I'm not gonna say which one was. But yeah, you just got to be honest. Don't sell yourself short, but also
don't lie.
Don't
lie.
oversell yourself.
When it comes into what you're capable of doing.
Be honest.
How many directors out there have said, "Oh, I know I can make this movie," and then they get the opportunity, and then they just bomb. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody thinks that they can direct, or everybody
and
thinks
then
they can
there's-
do this
I mean-
until they really get into it. But it's just like anything else. You have to dive in and learn, fail, learn, and fail. The more times you fail, the better you get. And
Yeah, the more you fail, the less you're likely to do it in the future.
my digital cinematography instructor said your first 100 films are gonna suck.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's just the way it goes. He goes, but if you stick with it through there, by the time it gets around to make your big break, you will succeed and you will be prepared for it. But
As
100 films, think about
well,
that.
well, yeah,
That's
well,
a lot.
as
That's
I
a lot
well,
of time.
every time people say you shouldn't get into a business like this unless you can handle failure and rejection well. It's like failure, used to that. I've been a failure all my life. Rejection, rejection. I'm used to. Rejection is pretty much my middle name.
Yeah,
Nathaniel
I mean,
Rejection Hamilton.
You might think you have the greatest idea. Man, this movie is going to be awesome. It's going to have millions of viewers.
But can you execute it?
But yeah, can you execute it? But is it? I mean, you might think it's great, but maybe not everybody else thinks it's great, and you have to be open minded and like not take immediate offense to like,
No.
oh yeah. Obviously, I don't expect somebody to be like, your idea completely sucks and you should kill yourself. Obviously, a critic shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But understand that nothing is going to ever be perfect, and you're never going to meet everyone's expectations, and so you kind of just have to work at it and fine tune it. That's the thing with my book.
It's just like in video games too. I mean, I would say anything in entertainment, you have to fail many times to succeed. I think failure is a prerequisite for success.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, nobody comes out swinging and hits a home run
Nope.
straight out the gate. It's just like in sports too. I mean, I know y'all aren't into sports much, but in baseball, like they tell all of these new pitchers when they come, it's like y'all are gonna get lit up. You're gonna get lit up until like you get your pitching rotation down and you learn to trust your catcher.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way. That's the only way you're gonna get by is if you trust each other and all that. It's like, and listen to your catcher because he's probably read up on the batters more than you have, and he knows where where you can put the ball that will get him every time.
Yep.
And they still get lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And
I see it in a lot of
I've-
team-based
yeah.
stuff, sports of any kind.
oh yeah, it's like Overwatch. I mean, we're still learning in Overwatch. I mean, I think we've
Yes.
gotten a lot better.
So,
But we've
not to interrupt you on that
Oh
one.
no,
but
yeah, no. I mean,
Does it? Season 14 in Overwatch just started.
Yeah.
And well, I've done most
It
of my
seems
most
like
of my placements.
The
and
pro leagues are on there right
I'm
now.
a silver right now.
I don't know
I don't know
exactly
yet.
who's been joining on or what, but I have been getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Like, what
Stumped.
happens?
Me
And
too.
I'm not talking
Like-
about just like, oh, these are some good players. It's like you see them
Oh my
insta
gosh.
death. It's like
Well,
And they're
that's
always
just like
having
this
that
one team we
pharmacy.
ran
It's
into.
always that
Yeah.
pharmacy. It messes with me.
Well, it's not just pharmacy. It's just you have the Mercy up top, and you also they usually have like two healers. They have a Lucio and they have a Mercy, and the Lucio is almost always healing the Mercy. And actually, no, I take it back. 3 healers because I always had because that one team that we ran into at
3
Oasis.
healers and 3 tanks.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
3 healers, 3 and they also had it was 2 tanks and a Genji. And that Genji kept getting the friggin' ultimates
It just seemed
and
like
just
they were
decimating
very-
everyone.
it
was
seemed like
every
it
3
was like a
seconds.
team was their amount of damage was so wrecking with just 2 people, and the rest were healing and just kind of hanging around.
Yeah,
But
and
the thing
you had to
about
take
it
out
is,
the
you know-
healers, but by the time you took out one of the healers, Genji had like decimated you.
Yeah. And I've been playing Overwatch for a long time. I consider myself a decent player. Goldish, right on the kind of the platinum edge, I would say. But
Yeah.
man, some of these I just don't get. I mean, maybe it just makes me want to practice more and more.
Well, I know.
because
Yeah, same
it
here. I
was
mean,
like
me,
it's some kind of mystery of how they got that good.
I'm currently
Yeah.
ranked silver, so I'm happy
Yeah.
with that. But at the same time, I'm just like, I really need to improve my game. I really need to like step it up, and I want to play better as Reinhardt, and I want to play better as I want to actually practice my Genji more because seeing that guy play Genji, and I'm just like. I bet you I could do that shit too if I actually practiced enough.
It's a different feel with each character for sure, but it seems that people have gotten better because I remember back when season 3 and 4, competitive mode was not that hard. I mean, you got your ass kicked for sure when you're learning, but like it was not that bad. And, I mean, this is just placement matches, and we were getting wrecked.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Destroyed.
Like before that, we was winning, most
Yeah.
of the games. But now, God.
Yeah, the Genji
It's
he had a I'm not sure if it was a Korean name on there.
Yeah.
Which it does not mean that he's from Korea. I'm
Not
not sure. I'm not sure
necessarily.
if we're region locked with.
We're not. It's a worldwide thing.
Okay.
The servers switch with time frames because of like people being more active.
Yeah.
But still, like Korean players show up all over the place. I ran into a Korean Roadhog who on not Hanamura but on Numbani. He was up on the upper level, where you go upstairs to get an angle on the payload so you can get to the payload. He was up there, and I was down there as I was Zenyatta, and I was healing, and then he goes up there, he hooks me up there, shotgun, dead, and I'm just like, how the hell? And I was just, and then as soon as he got up there, he goes down there and just like starts like wrecking shop, starts shooting.
Ulting?
He didn't ult, but he killed both of our healers. He killed me, and he killed our Brigetta that we had. And then he also killed our Farah, who was on the ground. She actually was trying to fly away. He hooks her, and then he shoots her again and kills her. And I'm just like, good God, man!
Yep.
Like some of these people are like really good, and they've dedicated
was you
good
playing
portion.
with us the other night? I'm not sure if you was when we went against
Just
a
last
team
night.
of 6 healers.
Oh no, I wasn't with
me and my
that.
friend
Yeah,
Justin,
you
Keith,
wasn't.
and his friend Lavina, we hopped on and we decided to go Goats Comp. And Goats Comp,
Oh
because
my
man,
God.
we were wrecking people with that strategy. I mean,
I had
Goats Comp
62
is so
kills.
awesome. And yes,
It
they
was
had a
crazy.
team of 6 healers. They never
No
died.
one
We
died.
never died.
No one died.
Basically,
was
you would
pushing.
fight
That's all you was
for
doing. You was
5 or
pushing
6
them.
minutes straight before one person would die, and then one person would die, and then two would die. Then
Was that
it
not
would
like
go
a 30
either
minute
way.
match?
Yeah, the whole match was like 30-something minutes on.
That
Sheesh.
was
It was on
crazy.
Kings Row.
I guarantee you
We-
that's how
it-
you.
It
That's
was
we
the
won it. We
funnest
won it.
game.
We
was
won
the
it, but-
funnest game I have ever played on.
That was a
Overwatch.
stressful game. Like, I don't even smoke cigarettes anymore, but I needed a cigarette
You
after that. I was like,
Yeah, you need a cigarette
I
and
was
just like sit
because
back and
we
like.
were all
Because
calling out.
nobody's dying, and
We
it's
were all
like, what
calling
is
out, but it
going
came to
on?
the point where it was like, you know what, we're not even gonna call out anymore because it was just,
It was constant, just like all over. Yeah.
it was like, what is going on?
Love
No
that
one was
shit.
dying.
It was
I mean,
so
I
funny.
was playing Brigida and just smack, 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 smack.
And I'm sitting there
And
doing
I'd
a diva,
ult-
and I'm bombing them and
I
stuff.
would get
and they're
my
not
ult
doing
back
nothing.
in like 30 seconds, and then smack, 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 then get my ult again in 30 more seconds, smack.
I
smack,
swear, and
smack. It
their
was
their
like,
bar didn't change at all when you was hitting
Like
them
me,
because
the
Their
only
health
way,
is
the only thing I can
ridiculous.
really think to do is get a McCree, and then get them all in the view, and then
Yeah.
it's high noon, draw, pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, it
That'd
was
be a
one of
game
those things
changer
though.
right
We were
there.
kind of afraid to switch though because they were all really good. The Ana was sleeping people like that. Like
Yeah.
we didn't really have. Well, I mean, with Goats comp, it was pretty much all tank, all heals. You know, you still had damage, but it was compared to 6 healers, it wasn't enough damage to get picks. Hardly.
Well,
you
me,
know?
I'd still use that as like if I had a shield, with me, I'd just be like work a shield. I'd like work a McCree shield comp, and then that way it's like I get them all in view. Ana can't sleep me, and I'm just like it's high noon, and then draw and kill as many of them as I could.
They were comboing too. Like Brigida would stun, they'd sleep them, and then just back and forth. And she would damage boost her, and then we'd all focus heals on the tank. I mean, it was a very good teamwork in that game. I mean, perfect flawless communication. But man, you talking about. I'd never went against 6 healers before, so that was. We actually might just try that because I think in the bronze, silver, and gold ladder, they might not know how to counter that. You know, I mean,
Maybe.
I mean, if it could be like one of those last resort ditch strategies. Like,
everybody
all right,
comes
they're
in,
getting
yeah.
ready to push the payload. Fuck it, let's go 6 heals and just see if we can stall them. You know, I mean, because they stalled us for 30 minutes all the way to the back.
Jesus.
So
Are there 6 healers overall?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6 healers
I call
I,
them.
mean, I know Soldier and
I calls
Vegeta,
in.
they have their
or
healers.
Brig.
Hey, actually, I've got good at him.
Yeah, actually
I
Jacob
really
told
like-
me that you got good at
Yeah,
Zen.
because I played the mystery heroes. Man, that is the funnest thing I've ever done because
bad.
Yeah.
where I haven't played all of them, it gives me a
Too bad she stole my diva. Doesn't want to play as it
listen.
anymore.
Oh.
I am diva. What are you talking about?
God damn it. I miss my diva.
I miss being able to pick all characters at all times.
Yeah.
Like going up against 6 Mays at one point was
Oh, yeah.
absolute nightmare.
you talking about before they had the hero cap for
Yeah.
each team? Yeah.
Who are you worst at?
I'm not good with Orisa.
Hammond.
Hammond.
Yeah, I found her to be a
my
disappointing
worst.
character to play as.
Oh my-
Hammond I'm okay
Listen,
with.
I
Hammond
done
I'm
fell
okay.
off the map like 6 times with them.
Yeah,
the mystery heroes.
he's
I
not
went,
good.
"Oh."
He's not good with if there's big central maps that actually don't have that much of an edge, like have drop offs in the middle, like the Temple of Anubis, where it has that big drop off on the side where the
Yep.
capture point is in the middle. That one is bad. That one's really bad. But if you're in like Busan or Hanamura, where there's no real big drop offs in the middle, then Hammond's really good. But if you make a mistake and you
I can't get
roll,
how to get onto something and spin.
oh, you have
Yeah,
to
you
you
just
have
have
to
to
aim
practice
up.
with him.
You have to
Oh,
aim up to like a wall or an anchor point, and then you fire the anchor into the wall, and then you're able to like
Yeah,
rush
you're
around and do that.
tethered.
You tether to. That's just like for me on the one in Nepal where you attaches to that central thing in the middle and then spins around it constantly. I'm just like screw you, Hammond. Like,
I really
screw
like
you.
Widowmaker.
Yeah, I
too,
don't
though.
like. Yeah, he's annoying.
Widowmaker is
fucker.
one of my interests
Widow-
too now.
Well, Brig is probably the best counter to Hammond because you can stun him out of his spin move. You can like just wait there with your shield. He'll hit you maybe once or twice. Then he comes around, stun, and then everyone does damage to him. And he's gone.
Yep. That's what I do with Brigida. Typically,
Yeah.
Hammond coming in there, spinning around in circles on the point, That's easy. He just comes around once. I stun everybody target.
Or someone stuns him, or if there's an edge one, or if there's one with an edge near, then Lucio can boop him.
Yep.
Lucio could just come in, just like boop boop boop.
Brigida can boop too.
Oh,
So
oh
she
yeah.
Stun, boop. I knock people off the map all the time. I will stun them like on a bridge and then boop them and they go flying around.
So Brigida's boop, is that the
That's her
left shift?
really long range mace that goes straight.
Yeah, okay, left shift. Okay.
Yeah. Lately, I've been trying as Tracer, and I like that ability to, like, as far as just trying. My tactic is kind of to flank around.
Oh, the blinking.
Flank around to the sides there, and just take pot shots at them, because either they're paying attention to you guys as you're pushing forward, and they're not focusing on me while I'm shooting, them, or they're turning their attention to me, opening you guys up.
It's really easy to get behind a team and do some damage, but the moment they know you're there, and once a couple heads turn and look at you, you better run.
If you're not around health pack.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you're in a health pack heavy area, like on Route 66, where there's the little in the garage, there's that 200 health pack there.
I stay near that thing. So.
Oh yeah, there's
one. Actually one.
I ran into
behind it too.
I ran into a tracer that just stayed there the entire game. Didn't move forward with the payload or anything. Just wanted people to try and stay back there.
The only thing I don't like about Tracer is that when you fire her weapons, literally half your time is spent reloading, because she goes through her fucking...
Well, they've nerfed the hell out of Tracer.
She is really good, though.
They have nerfed the fuck out of Tracer. Because I remember her bomb... Her ultimate used to do as much damage as Diva's.
As such a piece of shit. I
haven't been killed by it. I haven't been killed by it yet this season.
I said this the last time. I ulted with Tracer right on Bastion's head as he's in turret mode.
Yep.
Blinked right out there and boom, didn't kill him.
Yeah.
And it was like,
it doesn't do as much damage as it
I
used to.
even Diva bombed, you remember?
Yeah.
Yesterday, and for some reason...
he was healing himself, and he had another healer on him, and he didn't die. And I still feel like Bastion should have probably died on him.
Bash to me is like, he's probably one of the more broken characters, especially if you get he has a shield with him. But I tried to do the shield, the bastard build.
It's all about if they can counter that or not. If you can counter that,
and they did. They had a Farah just like come back there, and also a Genji. Like a Genji's a good counter to it, and a Farah's a good counter to it.
And last night we were on a team against 3 snipers. Basically an Ashe, a Ashe, a Widow, and a McCree on 366. I said, all right, switch tanks, switch to something with shields. I was Brigida. Just those 2 shields out there just completely countered their offense.
Yeah, and I think I needed to switch to a more active DPS, like I think probably Soldier would have done better against the Farah. And as for Genji, a good counter to Genji is a Mei. Is a good Mei, which I'm okay with Mei, but I'm not like god tier like I've seen some people be. Like I've seen some Meis just like decimate an entire team by themselves. They'll just like hop back, especially in a health pack heavy area. Yeah. They get back there, they grab a health pack, they go out, they ice a few of them down. It's like headshot, dead. Go back, get another health pack, and like freeze them again, headshot. It's like holy crap. And then they get their ult out there, and then they just go around headshot dead, headshot dead. It's like good God.
My brother gets so mad at fighting against Maze. Oh, he gets so aggravated, just like Maze coming up and freezing because he's like a Roadhog main pretty much.
Yeah.
On his tank.
Oh, that's gotta hate. He's gotta hate Maze.
Yeah, he hates him so bad.
He's gotta hate Mei.
My thing about Mei is just don't get close to her. I mean,
keep your distance.
Yeah.
Hey, but if she's destroying my team, I knock her off. Like I'm like. Psh.
Main thing is when she's freezing you, you know you're gonna get froze. Like if she ults or whatever, turn your head away from her.
I do as Diva.
So she has to walk all the way around and then line up the headshot.
Cause Diva's head on the other side.
Yep. You can't hit Diva's head.
It's like
from
whatever.
behind. So you can only hit in the front center. So just turn around right before you get frozen.
I used to enjoy playing that character, but now I can't.
You can. I can always pick a healer.
No, because I have a guilt button the fucking size of Rhode Island. Anybody can goddamn push it.
Well, Rhode Island.
She wants to.
You eventually, when
she
you
wants
play the
to
game
play Diva.
enough,
I guess I
gotta Rhode Island's nothing.
Yeah, but in the context of a button,
just say it's
I
Texas.
think it's pretty large.
Just say it's like button size of Texas.
Yep.
Now that's a button.
Don't feel bad for him. He never plays anyways.
Oh,
that's just I'm too busy. You know.
You talking about me or him?
Just
You.
don't-
Me?
You.
Oh, me? I'm about to say. She says I don't play enough, and I play.
Wrong.
Okay, that might be
Because
kind of
I'll be
true.
like,
But I'm
"Listen,
sorry,
I
I'm
wanna
kind of
play
doing
and-"
like half a dozen other fucking things.
Yeah,
So
he's
I'm kind of in the same
well. Yeah,
boat,
he's
you know?
which I've
universe building.
Listen,
and
that's
I
why you
can't
stay
do
up
it.
all night and play it like I do.
I'm too much of a perfectionist when it comes to like
Yeah.
working on my book shit.
Yeah,
Fucking
you give me a
universe,
night
like,
time,
done,
late at
yeah.
night. I'll stay up most of the night
yeah,
and play.
like 4 or 5.
And that's fine. 4 or 5.
I
only
don't,
need
I,
about
I don't
5
do
hours
that.
to
Yeah, I don't
You
know
go
what the
sleep
hell's
about
wrong with
2,
you
don't
guys.
you?
I'm
no,
not doing that
well,
shit.
sometimes.
I only require like 3
Here
or 4 hours
recently,
of
I've
sleep.
been
Yeah.
like staying up a lot later. I've been staying up. Actually, I fell asleep this morning at 6 a.m. because I was working on reactions and stuff like that, and also stuff for the upcoming wrestling show on this Sunday. So it's just like, ugh, God, I can't. It's like I can barely breathe half the time. But it is what it is. But yeah, and that's why I was actually a little late getting here because I overslept.
Oh, nice.
Because I set my alarm for like 1:30, and then I woke up and my phone was in my I had my phone sitting on my desk, which is across the room, and apparently I woke up and I didn't I went over, grabbed my phone, turned off my alarms, and sat it down in the bed with me, and I laid back down, and I was just like, wait, what? And I woke up and my phone was in my bed with me. I'm like, oh no. And then I get a phone call from Nick saying that he's here already. He was at my house already. I'm like, ah, crap. Dang it. And then I haven't been sleeping much here recently, and there's days where my body catches up with sleep, and I know that's not healthy.
Yeah.
That's not healthy at all. Having a good sleep schedule is
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a bad habit of drinking Monsters. As much as I love them, they every morning when I wake up, I feel like, nah, I want 2 more hours of sleep.
yeah.
I push through it, but
I just need to
man,
have an espresso machine in my room.
I think it's why I have such a
directly
relationship with
hooked into
coffee
the
in
femoral
mornings
artery for
because no
me.
matter how many hours, if I've had 1 hour, 2 hour, or 5 hours, coffee just seems to make things better. I
The
find
best
it's
part
the
of
small things that
waking
get you
up
through
is
the day.
coffee
It's so
in
funny
your
because
cup.
I smile every time
I thought it was
I get
Folgers in your
my
cup.
first coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
It's
Yeah,
like I just put all my attention and just love into that cup. Just
Yeah,
the
you're
warm
just-
cup in my
you're,
hand.
you're just it's just like,
smelling it.
oh, this morning could not get any worse.
Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's
Life's
gonna
good.
be okay.
Life is
Yeah.
good.
So I actually got an Overwatch coffee mug of Snowball.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yes, it
I
is
actually have it in my
cute.
room.
Aw.
It was awesome.
Yeah, like 60% of it is just lid.
Yeah. It really much. Most of it is lid. It's like a little
And then
coffee
you take
cup
that
in
lid
there.
off. It's a cup like this big.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you supposed to put in this?
Yeah, it's such a.
It's just for show.
Yeah.
though.
Did you see it? Did you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it?
I saw
It's,
it.
it's,
It's
It's
just
just
like
for
this
sure.
massive
Yeah.
head,
I
and
mean,
then
for
you got a
sure,
little
for
cup
sure.
at the
I
Bush
wanted
bottom.
to drink out of it.
It's
I
a
just
Bush
like I have to have that. I
Yeah.
seen it. It was like on sale for $13.99. So I was like,
$13.99. That's a steal right there.
Hey, I mean,
It's a
for
steal.
for a lot of video game stuff,
it's-
branded stuff,
all
it kind of
merchandise.
is, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Merchandising. That's what makes the world go round.
Yep.
yeah. So something we need to work on. I mean, we've got a store that's got all this awesome merch in it. You know, like this kind of shirt right here, and written on the
you
back.
could just buy it.
But no, I can't ask our fans to do that. It was like, you need to buy it now. It's like, no, we've got it. If you're interested, it's in our Streamlabs store.
Yeah. I need to do that more. All the YouTube channels I follow, I need to start buying some of their stuff.
I've bought
That's
some
basically
merch
my
from.
only form of entertainment now.
I've bought some merch from Rooster Teeth. I've actually bought like posters and stuff like
I got
that.
plenty of their shit.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about like YouTube
Oh.
channels of like Because Science and Space Doc and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I love all that.
Kurzgesagt.
Sci-fi shit.
Have you ever seen Kurzgesagt or In a Nutshell? What that channel?
I don't think
They do like animated infographic stuff on science and stuff. Like they talk about like a potential so-called black hole bomb and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I've seen infographics.
Well, infographics they're pretty good, but Kurzgesagt they're like the person that works with them is they actually like have a physicist who like used to work at the CERN facility, and it's like holy crap.
Yeah,
like-
some of their stuff makes sense. Some of their stuff is a little kind of not right, but
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, I'm a little skeptical.
Where there's a reason why people don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
Because just like I used to work at the CERN facility. Why'd you leave?
The
It
CERN
became
facility is
unscientific.
fine. I'm just talking about infographics.
Okay. I thought you were
The
talking about
CERN facility, they're all good. In my book, by all means, keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. Well,
CERN's very mysterious to a lot of people, and even mysterious to quantum physicists. There's a lot of stuff there that is almost over their heads. You know, it's like really top shelf, world leading frontier on quantum physics, quantum mechanics, string theory, and uses of particles in many different ways that, like, it just takes nuclear fuel to a whole nother level. You know, for example, creating that little black hole for 1/8 of a second. You know, is tiny little black hole that existed for 1/8 of a second. I said
evaporates.
Yeah, but the temperature reading that they got off that plasma was like 1.3 trillion degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it only existed for that's a lot of heat.
It is.
Like,
well, there's actually a battery that they are designing at MIT that is supposedly going to be like the next. It's called the I forget the dynamic liquid battery, which it doesn't explode. It's non-flammable, and it also is just like it provides so much energy for such a small. Like it's about the size of like half of this room, but yet it can put out enough charge to fuel a small city and keep that city fueled. Like all you have to do is you have to throw in. I think it's you have to throw in a form of matter that becomes soluble in the liquid, and it actually produces like electrical currents from the dissolution of that material. And the material that you throw in the battery is actually renewable. So you can just keep making more and more and more and more of it.
Oh, wow.
And preferably you throw in cute and adorable matter like bunnies.
It's okay. Tesla
Kitty
will have purchasable batteries of that by the end of the year.
I
want graphene to finally become mass.
That'd be awesome to install in their house though, because they do have.
They do have the I've
Tesla
actually thought about getting one of those because of just how interesting they are. Because Paul from Paul's Hardware actually had one installed in his house, and his house was like built in the 1960s, and they had to they even gave him a new roof. They re-roofed his house just to put the solar panels on it. And I want to do the instead of the solar panels, I want to do the solar shingles, like the shingles that they made. I want to use those because they're sturdy as can be. They're more rigid than terracotta, and they're more durable than common shingles that we use nowadays. And they absorb solar power, and I'd have to probably have 2 batteries in my house because of how much power is used. I mean they actually do a test. They put a meter reader on your house to see if you need 1 or 2 batteries.
And you can set basically during the day or whatever time of the day that you use the most power, it will actually just run the regular power, and then at nighttime it basically kicks the power off, and you're running solar, which basically runs everything during night.
Yeah.
Or it has a stored charge to do that. So
in the long
run, it saved. You're only using.
Oh yeah, we had looked at that a couple
Paul's,
years back.
Paul's Hardware, he actually did his, and his power bill went from I think it was over. He did a 6-month thing on it from June to December. In June, his power bill, where he lives in California, the cooling, a lot of cooling. His normal power bill, the year before, was I think $320, and then the next year when he had the Tesla battery, it went to like $60. And then the next month after that, it was like $17, and then the month after that, he actually got a $24 credit from his power company because the power that he has there actually goes to the power company if whatever isn't used. It actually goes to the power.
And that's the thing we had looked at. I mean, we have like a 37,000 square foot facility here, and we had looked at because the roof is all flat, so pretty much 36,000 if you take out some of the things up on the roof is just open flat space. And we'd actually honestly looked at getting solar. We couldn't really afford it at the time, and so we ended up passing it up. But it's something we still are keeping in mind.
Well, Tesla. Well,
fuck our electric company.
Well, yeah. Well, Tesla. The thing with Tesla is that they're making solar panels that are ultra affordable now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
oh yeah,
like they're more.
That's
than
what's exciting
now.
is solar panel, wind energy, all that shit is becoming on par with just fossil fuel shit, and I can't wait for fucking coal and oil to bite the dust. Cause,
well, I think the reliance on coal and oil is oil. I think needs to just be squared away as soon as freaking possible because of the amount of carbon emissions alone that are caused by cars that still use fossil fuels and everything. That's actually like 70% of carbon emissions right there, and that's worldwide. Whereas electric cars, yeah, it's like I want to get an electric car because they're fast, they're efficient, and they're charging stations all over the damn country.
Yeah.
But coal, on the other hand,
plug it up to your home.
Coal is a lot better, but it's not clean. It's not 100% clean.
You're certainly not going to scrub a dub it like our glorious president thinks to do.
The standards that they maintain here in the States is that they don't burn coal that's heavy in sulfur.
Yeah.
They don't, because if you burn sulfur-heavy coal, then you get what you have in China, where you can't see your hand in front of your fucking face.
Fuck, dude. When I was out there in China, I don't know if I told about this. About 6 years ago, I was out there.
Yeah, you said you went to Beijing and like
I landed at Beijing. It was a layover in Beijing, and I landed there. You fucking couldn't see more than 100 meters out of that plane. It was wow. There was just barely any visibility.
Well, it's because they burn sulfur-heavy coal, and plus. Yeah. That's so many people using like in-house coal burners instead of...
and that's the thing. The school that I was going to, they didn't have there's no natural gas lines or anything. They had to burn their coal on site. Breathe? And so like at one
point... Through gas masks.
Everywhere they go.
They have
the little
surgical masks everywhere.
At one point during the 3-month time period that I was there, they actually had a big semi truck, like the dump truck type styles, pull up with just full of coal, and so me and a bunch of the other students ended up spending the day just shoveling coal out of the fucking dump truck.
Well, it's because they don't have automation like they do here in the States. Because there's actually a plant near my hometown in St. Paul. It's one of the biggest power plants that has ever been built in this area. And it supplies a whole bunch of energy, and the output that it gives and the carbon emissions that it gives, the carbon emissions are minimal, very, very minimal. And you should actually, I actually did a serving thing there for a company. I used to work for a catering company, and we actually did a day where we went out there. We cooked steaks, we cooked burgers, we cooked fries, we cooked everything, ears of corn, everything out there for these guys. And I actually have a family member who works there, and we go there, and I'm looking up at these gigantic the cooling tower fans that they have there.
Yeah.
I'm looking up at this. One of the fins on the fan is about as long as a car. I'm like, geez. I'm looking up at that. I'm like, I would get shredded. Like, it would literally be like, just like dead. And they actually turned them on while we were there, and they were quiet. They were surprisingly quiet because the fins that they had on them had the little grooves in it that actually absorbs the sound, and it actually makes them very quiet. But I looked up and I'm just like, I'd be dead, dude. Like if the screw comes out of that and it falls down on top of us, like everyone standing in this vicinity, would be dead.
When I was down through Illinois, when I was going to Chicago, miles of metal turbines.
Yep.
And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I mean, they're massive. If you get a chance to get close to one, you're looking up at a mega structure.
Oh yeah.
Of how massive these things are.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, and I see power lines, and I see what's that one? It's actually in Australia. It's actually a solar panel plant in Australia. They actually have a massive array in a desert.
Mm-hmm.
That is just constantly absorbing sunlight, because the outback it's nothing. There's nothing out there.
Yeah.
Of course they can dig like the raw materials up and all that. They can find opal and
we'll turn
silicon
our planet into a Death Star. and just basically absorb the power from the sun like they do in Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's our weapon.
I just want us to build a Dyson sphere around the solar system. I can't wait till we get to that level.
But if we could do that, we can jumpstart the Space Force.
Well, actually, they talk. Actually, Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell. Well, in a nutshell, they actually did a video about the Dyson sphere, how a practical Dyson sphere could work. Instead of it being like a superstructure around the sun,
it's like a swarm. Or something.
it's a swarm of solar arrays.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy crap, that could actually work. And it's true, it could work. And Kurzgesagt actually did a full like video explaining, like, instead of it being like the superstructure, just like one, you'd start out with one, and then you build whatever that does, you build off the material, you build and make a material from that.
Yeah,
Usually you get off that,
like using
build
mercury
another
to build the materials.
Yeah, and then eventually you have a whole swarm and just a whole like surrounding the sun, but yet not taking away our sunlight. Instead, we're using the sun and the energy it provides. And it's a beautiful thought, and he's just like, this could be possible within the next, say, 150 years, given the technological leaps we're going on. I mean, but the problem is, we would have to have a base to where we could actually set stuff up. Mercury is the most likely. He said Mercury is the most likely candidate, but Mercury is Mercury, and it is absolutely impossible to sustain life on there for an X amount of time without the proper environment.
Oh yeah, I mean everything would have to be in like habitats and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they've talked about like theories like inhabiting Mercury, where they would basically build cities on these massive railroad type structures that would just as the planet slowly rotated around the sun, it would just basically move along the horizon or something. Which I don't know where you fucking begin with that, because
be a fast train.
Well,
not really. I mean, Mercury spins real slow.
Oh,
It's just,
it's not like it's not like the Earth, where the Earth spins on its axis at like what? What's the Earth spin at?
Well, I mean, Earth spins obviously 365 days.
Well, 365 days a year, but the rotation in terms of miles per hour.
It's
I'm not sure.
at the equator. I think it's like close to 960 miles per hour, something like that. Maybe 980, something like that.
So
Okay.
Basically, you have to travel on the other side of the Earth in 12 hours.
Yeah.
About 12 hours, constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
have to stay
imagine
on the opposite
like
side.
like you think about like when Superman does like the fucking reverse time.
Oh
horse
God,
shit
that
makes absolutely no sense.
That's probably the biggest fuck up for me.
But
in the
imagine
Superman
if
movies.
the Earth just stopped.
We'll make that happen, Nick. We'll make that happen, okay?
Nick's like, give me pizza now.
Okay, fine.
Imagine if the Earth just stopped spinning.
Everything.
Everything.
There was actually
Everything
there was
just-
actually Vsauce did a video on that, and they actually did like a full graphic of what that would look like. Buildings would topple over, people would just
Everything,
it'd be like a
dude.
hurricane, it'd be like a super hurricane forced wind,
Yeah,
and everything
dude.
would just topple and just be like, holy shit.
Yeah, there would be a whole lot of splattered bodies.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
We
surfaces
would all
to
look
the-
like
Imagine
modern
the
art
oceans.
masterpieces against this
Imagine the
back
ocean
wall.
waves.
Oh yeah.
Like-
You're gonna
like-
get 5-mile fucking tsunamis too. Perfect.
Oh yeah, you'd get like, it would eliminate the coastal
Yeah,
land,
it'd be a
especially in the
worldwide-
direction.
A worldwide human extinction.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the fish would probably just be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I don't-
Yeah,
What
fish
the
would be out in the middle of it. It's just like,
Now-
holy crap, I've
now,
never
a
seen this place
scenario
before. Water
like
goes in, they're like,
that-
oh god, we're gonna die.
Now, a scenario like that, you could have a post-apocalyptic type thing. Cause I'm
Now,
pretty
that
sure
could be.
Nobody would fucking survive that. But
Tardigrades would be
you
just
know,
fine.
it's also not
Well-
gonna ever
Tardigrades would be
happen,
like,
so.
"What's up?"
Yeah, well,
Pizza.
we're high up in the mountains. We actually might be okay in terms of most of like the water coming in. We'd probably just be up here. We'd just be like, God dang, man, I'm gonna go fishing in this shit.
You're gonna build us a boat.
Gonna build us a boat, man.
Yeah,
like
that's what-
Noah's Ark and shit.
That's
I
what I
think a
loved
mountain
in
would fall down. They'd be like,
You should hear Nick.
We need to
He's
get-
going full
We need-
boomhauer in
we need
there.
to get Mike.
He's going full
Mike from-
boomhauer. I love it.
he needs
God
to-
dang, man. Come
he
on,
needs to get a
back
mic in there, in the control room.
God dang,
I loved how he talked.
But
though.
that's what I
That was
love
my
about
favorite.
in the movie 2012, where like they
Oh
have these.
God.
They're in the Himalayas, and somehow the water has still managed to be high enough to like get through all the fucking mountains and shit.
Well, no, you see, it's an impossibility.
There's just too much land for all that water.
There is, and even though you say, "Oh yeah, the world's like the world," I heard someone once say, "But the world's like 70% water." I'm like, no, the surface of the world is 70% water. The entire mass of the Earth is not like an ocean all the way down. That's not how it works. And he's just like, I know that, man. It's like, no, but you're talking like it is, though.
You only go so many miles deep.
Yeah, you can only go so many miles deep, in which, hey, guess what? There's so much land you got to traverse.
If you go to the bottom of the deepest ocean, it is like cutting through you would be at the bottom of the layer on an apple.
Yeah. Well, they actually showed like the deepest that humanity has ever gone in terms of like digging deep. They actually put a microphone down there, and they said that it was one of the weirdest sounds. It sounded almost like a heartbeat.
That was also a German conspiracy too, because they said that they started hearing screams from hell.
Well, no, that was actually what they did underwater. They put a microphone down at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and they could hear the screams of hell. And I'm just like, no, that's probably like an anglerfish just like seeing a microphone underwater and being like, ah!
Yeah, no, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson had said that like between the difference of Mount Everest and like the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest point, it would be if you took that elevation difference for Earth is still smoother than a cue ball in like a pool cue ball.
Well, not Vsauce, but Veritasium. Veritasium actually did a video where they crafted the most spherical object in history, and it was a silicon sphere, and it was like so smooth. Like the guy who runs the channel, he actually got to pick it up, and he said feeling it was so like he had it in his hand, and he like grabbed the top of it with the other hand and just like started to spin it in his hand, and it kept spinning because of how smooth and spherical it was. It was like, that's awesome. Like he even had on an ultra abrasive glove to handle it.
Kind of still spins in your
hand. Well, and that's what's scary about it. That's what's scary about like perfectly spherical. You see, something that's perfectly spherical
that means, like, no texture, pretty much.
Well, yeah, and he actually asked, like, they actually did like a microscopic like scan of it to see how, if there were any variants or anything. They got it as smooth as they could with the instruments that they had, but they said that the difference between the highest peak and the lowest valley on Earth. They asked what would the difference be, and they go, about 20 meters. So a 20-meter difference between the highest peak and the lowest valley, like compared to what we have to compared to what that is. That's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. Like the world is we see the world as like a perfect sphere, which it sustains life and has all these amazing things on it, but.
Yeah, it's definitely not a perfect sphere. I mean, obviously about like the shape and mountains and stuff like that. But looking at like a picture of a globe and everything,
Well, you don't notice it.
Yeah, you don't notice it.
I kind of like the movie The Core. I know it's kind of
it is a silly movie,
but it's so cool, like seeing like how they visualize the interior of Earth and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, from everything we know, from from the upper mantle to the lower mantle, and then of course the core. Mm-hmm. The outer core and the inner core. The inner core, they actually saw that the inner core was actually not as it wasn't up to their standards of the bomb that they brought. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't it was too loose. It was too loose for them to be able to restart the core of the planet. So instead of dropping one bomb off, they dropped off 4 bombs in different sections, and that actually is what caused it. Because the one explosion just it didn't make the full circle, but when they did the 4 bombs in individual areas, it made the circle and thus restarted the planet's core.
All I know is French guy in that movie absolutely should have fucking survived.
Yeah, DK Cario. I was just like, open the door, woman.
No reason he needed to die. And no. Okay, partly the woman, but also partly himself. He went back for a notebook. Which I guess it had the launch codes in it or something.
It had the codes to the nuke,
but I
Well,
feel like they
him
could have gotten out of there a lot fucking faster.
There was him, and then of course there was Delroy Lindo, the scientist who created the damn thing that got them to the planet's core in the first place. I was just like, it's like, hey asshole, useless guy who invented the spectrograph so we could see out the front. How about you actually go out and you fix this fucking thing?
Have you seen that?
I have not.
The core. It's got what's his name?
Hilary Swank, Aaron Eckhart,
yeah.
Delroy Lindo. Richard Jenkins, Stanley Tucci. It's got a lot of really good
It's
actors.
a cool movie, kind of B movie-ish.
But it's a fun movie. I thought it was
I'll
fun.
give it a shot.
Yeah. I think it's on Netflix.
I watch a lot of sci-fi stuff.
I'm pretty sure.
What's that Sun movie you made us watch?
Oh, Sunshine.
Yeah.
that was really cool. That was
Well,
really cool.
That was really cool.
Fuck it.
Except
Directed by Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
The only uncool part of it was that you stopped me every 5 minutes of the movie to try and explain to you what just happened in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was
I had
kind of
to
hard to
explain
follow. Like
Well,
at the beginning, I was kind of like,
yeah.
"What is going on? What?"
Well, yeah,
Oh,
it's
gotcha.
a whole thing with
Yeah.
like me. I had to stop myself as well while watching
Yeah.
it.
It's a movie you kind of have to watch a couple times through. 'cause,
Yeah, to
it's-
appreciate it,
there's a lot
'cause
lot
you
of
know
little
what's
things.
going on because
Yeah.
you've probably seen it like 2 or 3
Yeah,
times.
I've seen it.
I've seen it twice. The first time I watched it, I was a bit confused by some of the things going
At the
on.
beginning, I was confused. By the
But-
end, it got there, I was fine. But there was when it came to the antagonist, or sorry,
Pinbecker or Packer.
yeah, I was
Uh-oh.
very confused there for a second.
Okay.
I was like, "What is
Nick's
going on?"
Nick's going for a quick break, real quick. Don't worry, we're still live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're good.
So
Right,
we're
continue.
unattended. We can do whatever we want. Yay!
Oh,
Feet
no,
on the
he's
table.
back. He's back.
Yeah. Let's,
Ooh,
yeah, there we go.
I can't reach.
I can't reach that far.
Here.
Jesus. Yeah,
come on.
perfect.
Yeah.
See how
It's a good leg
see how
workout.
long until your
Yeah,
leg
see
is
how
back.
long
Yeah, there we go. Leg workout.
And now your quads are burning on fire.
No, not really. I've got strong legs. That's always been something I've always had. That's why I was really good at football. That's why they wanted me to play football.
I'm sorry,
My
what-
dad wanted me to anyway.
I'm one of them people who want to play football. I get squashed like a little pancake. And it's like
No, well, that's why you got to be quick. You got to be
Yeah.
quick and
Oh,
nimble.
I'm short and quick. That's for sure. I could run. I could catch the ball. I could throw the ball, but
Not gonna take it out.
Couldn't take a hit.
Man, a 300-something pound dude come charging at me full speed. No thanks. I will run the opposite direction.
Well,
I will not run
me-
toward him.
Oh well, I always made people pay for it whenever they tackled me.
Yeah.
Like I made them pay because I was like 220, 225 when I was at my like physical best. I mean, I could squat 500. I could bench. I think it was like 270. No, it was actually 285. I maxed out at 285, and I could run a 4.8 540 at that speed or at that size, and I was pretty happy with that. But then all of a sudden, like they wanted me to play fullback one time, and I was just like, okay, just tell me where to run. And it's just like, all right, Nate, we want you to run left on this one. I'm like, all right. Wait, do you want me to go off tackle or do you want me to? No, we want you to run all the way on the outside. Go as far out as you can, like full wing pattern. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then they give me the ball. And we had a guy named Grant Kilgore, but everyone just called him Grunt because he always had a thing where he was just like, instead of like talking, he would like go full Neanderthal mode and just be like, and I'm just
I'm
like,
just thinking of the Mass Effect character now.
yeah, well, yeah, so I didn't think about that. Yeah, but we called him Grunt because, and he would always just be like tout himself as like being the toughest guy in the field. And then he tried to tackle me, and I shoulder rammed through him and knocked him down. And ran over him. I actually stepped on his shoulder pad, and I was just I got out there, and then he comes up, takes his helmet off, and like pushes me back. I fall down on my butt, and he's just like trying to get at me and everything. And then the coaches, they come up and they stop, and they're like, it's like, Kilgore, get your ass back here! No, stop, get back to the fucking line. And I'm just like. I'm just sitting there on the ground, and I stand up, and I dust myself off. I pick up his helmet, and I like roll it back to him. When I like walk back there and I roll it back to him, I get back in the backfield, and I just look over at my boys, and they're just like, whew, and I'm like, steroids. But I mean,
Steroids
what did
make
you
you
expect?
angry.
I mean, the guy touted
touted
himself as like one of the biggest, baddest dudes, and
Yeah.
then there was also Chris Mullins, who was a strong safety. He wanted upper body takedown, wanted to hop
Yeah.
and hit me, like deliver a killing, like a big shot,
Yeah.
and he He tried. That's for damn sure. He tried. He like leapt up and like off the ground, like trying to like knock me off balance. I like tip over a little bit and then I right myself and I keep running. And I never played fullback in the game. They just wanted me to be fullback just to fuck people up. That's really it. They just wanted to see if anyone could tackle me. And some people were able to, like Ruben Swindle. Ruben Swindle actually body slammed me. He like picked me up and like drove all the way through me. And I didn't want to like make it look like it hurt. Like he knocked the wind out of me, that's for sure. But I got back and I'm just like, it's good, man. Let's go again. Come on. Like good hit. It's like I was like, and they kept talking shit like back in the backfield. They're like we're gonna knock your head off, man. I'm like, and I'm just like look back and I'm like, just like bring it, because I didn't want them to know. I didn't want them to know that I didn't want to get hit. Yeah. But I was just like, hey, they're gonna dish it. I'm gonna dish it too. But God, dude, that was fun. But I really damaged my knee up really bad playing football. That was one like right here, really bad. Got injured, and I didn't want it. I didn't want to have that again, so I quit.
I'm between fighting MMA and then the military. I did a little bit of damage to my body as well.
Oh, what'd you damage? Your elbow or
shoulder and knees, and then I have this weird nerve thing in my right foot now, where I, like when it gets cold, like mildly, like 60-something degrees.
Yeah,
can't feel half of it. Don't know why, but it's like, well I don't think that half of the foot anyway.
It's probably there's actually an MMA fighter, O'Malley, Dylan O'Malley, I believe is his name. Mm-hmm. He actually had damage done to a mass of, it's pretty much like a nerve ending mass that you have in your ankle right here. Mm-hmm. And he damaged it on a kick one time during a fight. And the
first time I ever broke my foot was on a kick.
Well, I
broke it on their elbow. And their elbow didn't break. My foot did.
Oh, no. This right here is damaged to take, or is meant to take like a shit ton of force. Yeah, and like the only person I've actually seen break their break an arm with a kick is like Kung Lee. And Kung Lee is like, he's a South Vietnamese kickboxer, so he's got like shins of steel.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got to interrupt you because Brenda Moreno asked, what's the weirdest way you guys have gotten injured? And I've got a fucking amazing story.
Okay, go for it, Ron.
In one of our awesome super cheap purchases from Gov Deals, we get like 250 study carrels. Get it for $50, which is a fucking incredible deal because 250 study carrels is something like $75,000 with the material. We got it for $50. Anyways, the catch is we got to go pick up all this stuff from a warehouse. Essentially, it's four big 26-foot truckloads of material. We get there first. It's a big kind of multi-story warehouse. They only have, it's an old building. They only have a freight elevator to get up and down. I've never used a freight elevator before.
Oh,
and
I think I've heard this.
And so, and so I'm learning, okay, it's a manual type door. Like I realized, okay, there's no automation to it. So you got to pull the door closed to actually activate the fucking elevator. Well, I go to pull it down for the first time thinking the door will just go all the way to the ground. Not the case. It's also the bottom comes up for the door too. It's like a halfway type thing. It sandwiches.
Oh no!
So I'm looking up at the door handle and I'm pulling down, and I figure I got to pull this all the way down, so I got to use a lot of force because it's a heavy fucking door. I got to pull it down, not really seeing until maybe the split second, and my hand has the strap under the door. In a split second time, I see a door coming, but it's too late. And the fucking two heavy-ass doors go wham right on my fucking hand and just pancake the fucking thing. And somehow I did not fucking break any of the bones. It just, I had a bruise that went all the way through my fucking hand, and like these fingers were just immobile. They're just swollen for like a week.
So you went and got an X-ray and it?
No, I didn't. No, I just I went to a drugstore, got a couple splints for it, and because we had to get this shit out within 2 days. So of course we get right fucking back to work, moving that because we had just gotten there. We had.
Did it feel like he's carrying a balloon?
You didn't even move anything.
Yeah, it was basically like literally I couldn't grab anything with his hand, so it was literally I'm grabbing stuff with this hand and just pushing it into this one. And
into like the palm?
Yeah, there's in the back of my, because again, the palm is bruised, so I had to like push it into like my wrist or whatever just to hold it there. It was awful. No. It was so that is my terrible injury.
Mine, I would probably say, is my my right ankle. I fucked it up really bad trying to do a front handspring. I used to take gymnastics. I was in gymnastics for about 6 years. And I hadn't. By the time I tried to do the front handspring just to show off, I hadn't done gymnastics since say like I don't know, almost a decade. But I could still do it. I'd done it before 100 times. And we were on a playground, and you know those playgrounds that's got the wood chips and everything. I was gonna do it in that because outside of that it was like an asphalt, like just nothing but asphalt and concrete surrounding us, and the grass patches weren't but that wide. So I'm just like, well, I'll just do it on the wood chips. Anyway, I go to do it, and my hands slip back, and instead of landing where all the pressure gets distributed evenly up your legs, instead this foot hits first, and I hear snap. I'm like, oh, fuck! And I didn't want to swear because I was around my friend Gary, who's
Fudgel sticks.
No. I was just like, oh, frick! Dang it! Oh God! And I'm there on the ground and everything, and I also don't realize I have a splinter in my hand right here. It's actually going in like that, and it's just like, oh gosh, oh, ow, ow, and I pull the thing out, and it's just like, ugh.
It's like nothing compared to the foot.
Yeah, and I was just like, no, because all the pain was in my foot, and I'm just like, oh God, and I get my shoe off, and I look, and I can start to see the swelling already starting. And turns out one of the there's actually a small bone right here in your ankle that actually it keeps your foot, it helps anchor your foot whenever you make it go forward like that. I can pretty much bend all the way out like that. That's as far as I can go with that one. That's as far as because that kind of damage rate, I've rehabbed it and I've got a lot of the motion back in it, and it's stable again, but oh my gosh, for a good solid 6 months there, dude, I walked with a limp for
I'd say you probably got so used to walking with that limp, you just do it without even thinking
naturally.
Lavina, go.
No.
You have any terrible catastrophic injuries? What's the word? Okay, just go ahead. Just give us an injury.
Give you an injury? I have a lot of those.
Okay.
Yeah,
just give us one.
It's just, I'm very clumsy. In life, I've always been clumsy.
That's fine. That's fine. Hey, so am I.
But, so, when I was 8, I was in the bath, and my mom had put the shampoo on a glass shelf.
Oh, huh.
So, I stood up to get the shampoo and the thing. Well, the shelf fell with me.
Oh, no.
Glass, okay?
Yeah.
Into the mirror. The glass went all over me, but the mirror was about this big, and it went in my back. So I had to have 70 stitches.
Ooh, honey.
I don't even know how many. I really don't. I have to ask my mom again, but it was a lot. Because I remember having to go get them pulled out. That hurt so much.
Yeah.
It took 4 nurses to hold me down to stitch me up.
Man.
And I'm 8, so I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, yeah. God, my dad had something similar, with glass happen to him. He was installing a window, and the top part of it fell out, and he caught it, but his palm hit it just right to where the glass actually cracked, and a piece of it fell out and jammed into his leg right here. And it was just he pulled it out and bandaged it back up and went and got a replacement window and finished it up. But then but later on, after about a week or so, his leg was still killing him. Turns out a piece of the glass actually broke off inside of his leg, and he actually had to have someone go in and pull it out for it to properly heal. Yeah. Glass is weird, man. Glass is one of them. You get that stuck.
You're not scared of glass until you've really been injured.
Oh,
by
and
it.
also,
Then
glass,
it's
never hurts at first. You don't feel it. You do not feel it.
No, you don't.
At all until you see blood. Then all of a sudden, your pain's in your brain. It's like, oh. I've been sliced a lot.
You ever have the people that run from pain?
Yes.
So my old martial arts instructor, Josh Boer, if he's ever listened to this,
literally run.
Oh yeah. He got hurt. One time he did this 1-2 kick and missed the guy, and his toes went right into the cage, crunch. He took off. He ran, was hobbling, opened up the cage door, was like, "Let me out, let me out, let me out." He spits his mouthpiece out. This was not a fight. This is just a sparring session. No, he spits that thing out and just goes running up and down the gym, kind of hobbling with one foot, he's trying to run from the pain.
That is so funny.
Oh man,
though.
everybody's like, "Oh gosh, your fingers are fingers and toes. Like these appendages are so delicate.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing I was gonna mention with the freight elevator thing. It's probably good that I didn't have any time to pull my hand back because
You'd probably gotten your fingers.
Had the doors just crushed my fingers or something, my fingertips or something.
You'd probably wound up like Tony Iommi and
I
just
probably
been
lost
like
those
this.
fucking things.
You'd
Yeah,
probably
I
been like
lost-
missing a top digit.
In retrospect, it's probably good that it crushed my hand. Like like at least there was some cushioning in there because I would hate.
That actually reminded me of the John Jones fought recently, and back a couple years ago, John Jones fought, and he actually tore his big toe, like the bone out of it. Like he was mounted against the cage, like trying to take someone down, and his big toe like just gives out, and the bone comes popping out. It's like, oh gosh! I remember me and my dad.
Are the worst.
Me and my dad watched that live. We were in the theater. We watched it live, and we were just like, "Ooh!" And my dad was just like, "Oh, I can't watch it, son. I can't watch it. Oh God, no!" Just like covering his eyes.
That's when that piggy just failed to go to the market. He did not go.
No, that piggy went wee all the way to the hospital.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Jacob? Any catastrophic or terrible injuries that were also
not
hilarious?
really too bad. I've been I used to skateboard a lot. I injured both my wrists really bad where I had to wear wraps. Just nothing, no actual breakage. Had stitches in my toe when I was about 7 or 8. Got caught in bike spokes. My friend was riding next to me on a bike, and I was on a big wheel.
Yeah.
Little big wheels, but I was out there barefooted like a dumbass. And he got a little close to me. I said, "Get away!" And I put my foot to kind of like push the side of like the little thing to where I can actually push. But nope, I missed and it went right to the bike spoke. And instant like blood. I remember hopping in there and my mom's face was like, "Oh!" You know, because there's blood and stuff like that. I wasn't even crying at the time. I'm just like,
Probably in shock.
Yeah. Oh.
what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, there was also another injury. It was probably one of the more famous ones that ever happened. Anderson Silva, like his leg.
Yes, that one. I've seen that. Oh, that
Dude,
haunts my
there were
dreams.
people running out of the theater to not look at that. They were just like it happened, and they were just like, "What happened? What happened?" And then like he picked his leg up, and you saw his leg just like go black, like fall over, and it was just like, "Oh my gosh!" And then they showed the replay, and I remember
Why I'm dead set against using the methods of Muay Thai. I don't have bones like that, and I've hit my shin on the hitch of a truck quite a few times. So
I have too.
That hurts, and
Fuck
yeah.
Well,
And
you know
that is an evolutionary fault.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
no.
understand
Like there's
why
Brazilians
they
that
fall
kick tree trunks in half. I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
You know how they're able to do that though, right? Years and years and years of tempering their legs to do that.
Yeah.
Like they kick them like intermittently
America,
to deaden the nerves
we call
and
that
overcalcify the
drugs.
bones.
we call that drugs in
Yeah,
America.
it just seems like a
But yeah,
really
you're absolutely
bad,
right. It's
really bad evolutionary defect that we developed is just to have.
Well, it's
our
just like this
bone
right here,
at
the
the
Achilles
surface
tendon.
of our fucking
The
leg
opposite.
right here.
Well, it's like this part right here is our most delicate one because we have the shin and we have the
Yeah, I
Achilles
mean, it's
tendon.
literally
We're
there's
done.
There's skin and then just bone. There's
Yeah.
no
no muscle.
or
There's no
anything.
muscle to protect.
This is fucking.
It's not. It's
dumb.
it's not like we have two bone. We have like two good bones here, but we also have like our forearms to like brace against some of the impact.
Yeah.
Whereas down here, you have your calf muscle, of course. That's where you'd want to like take a little bit of a hit right there if you're going to take one. But here,
This is nothing.
like mid-shaft chorial fracture, like woo, you're done.
I don't know how long we've been going.
I think an hour and a half mostly. I think we're actually almost 2 hours. I think so. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're probably going to end it. Yeah, we're going to. Sorry
we
for
talked
gross
about
chowder.
what did we talk about? We talked about space.
ready to
we talked
play
about
Overwatch,
diseases
so-
and zombies. We talked about
talked about quite
Stories.
a
We
few
talked about a lot of stuff, man. I mean, this is what we cover. It's why we ramble. That's just who we are.
It's the ramble for sure.
Yeah.
So I think
It's that rambling life.
space is big, diseases are awful, and the Earth is round and spherical. You fucking dumbass flat earthers.
Back to that again.
Oh man.
All right.
That's
So
all
thank
I'll
you
say.
all once again for tuning in. And until next time, we will see you then. Peace out.